workout, a workout on our character, workout on our relationship with God. It's a program, and the program keeps getting harder as we go. Because as we get more advanced, pass me one book so I can tell you where we're at in the book. We're in the 11th chapter, and we're learning about Chillul HaShem. We finished last week, we were talking about lying, and this week we're talking about Chillul HaShem. Okay? Here we are. It's page 76. Okay? Page 76. Anfei Chillul HaShem gam hem rabim ugdolim. Okay, so now, as we said, the chapter 11 in Messilat Yesharim is the chapter that talks about all the things that we do wrong, that because of social acceptance, because of our, we're not aware, but we're bribed. We have bribery. And we tell ourselves that many things are okay for many reasons. We explain it to ourselves. We justify it. But when we look in depth, we discover that many things that we do are actually what's called wrong. And again, you have to remember the program is built in a way where first we talk about the things that we know are wrong. Zehirut is the things that we know we don't want to be doing. How do we get ourselves to do it? And then we get motivation, zrizut. How do I get excited about serving God? And once you have that, I got rid of the big boulders. I got rid of the things that I know I want to not do. And now I have some excitement of my relationship with God. Now I'm ready to go deeper to let go of certain issues that maybe would be harder to do, but because I have this excitement and love of God and I'm growing, I'm able to take steps in a new direction. And we spoke last week about the difficulty of lying. Last week we spoke about it. Why should there be a problem with lying when it doesn't hurt anybody? I just want someone to think that I am the most incredible person that went to the moon or who knows what. Does it hurt you in any way? Do you lose any money from it in any way? So what's wrong with it? Why not? And the answer is that there's a built-in trust. We're talking about relationships with a community, with a society, with an environment, with people. We're social beings. That's just who we are. And the glue that needs to connect us has to be real. People have to know that when they're talking to somebody, that they're genuine, that they're saying what the way it is. And that's the trust that is supposed to be. There's supposed to be a trust. Like I read this story. I don't know if I could find it. I read a beautiful story from Rav Mordechai Sternberg, who passed away. And he has this beautiful story about, there's a book that just came out, about a guy who, here it is. Here's the story. I found the story. Thank God. So he says there was a guy that told a story. This is Rabbi Naftali Scheinfeld. He told a story that when I was a soldier, one of my friends came to me and said, I'm in debt. I need money fast. I need your help. Please help me. And he says, I gave him my credit card. And I saw that he took advantage of the credit card. And he charged it 12,000 shekels, more than what he asked for. So think about it. You come to someone, you ask for a favor. Not only did they not do what they said, they took advantage, they stole. And he's like, I had to go out of the army, to go to the police, to deal with it. And I stopped by Rav Mordechai Sternberg, Zecher Tzadik V'chai. He's Rosh Hashiva of Har Amor. He passed away, I think 2 years ago. And I told him what happened. And the Rosh Hashiva held my hand and said, my dear Naftali, to lose 12,000 shekel really hurts. But there's something right? There's something that's much more important to lose. To lose your trust in human beings. Make sure that this episode, this event that happened, doesn't make you lose trust in people. Okay? And that's a beautiful story, and that's what this is based on. When we're talking about, we spoke about things that had to do with me individually, our interactions, and again, in Messilat Yesharim is built, could someone close the door, please? Just the noise. The interactions that we have with people are complex, are not simple. And we have to have this trust. We have to have this, right? We have to have this belief in people. So we spoke last week about lying, not to, right? The worst thing is just that everything a person says is a lie, and that's the worst. There's other people just, it's more common, is we expand on the story that we add in information that wasn't there in order to be more exciting, to be more, to get more cover, to get more, to make it more, action. But we have to really keep honesty and truth as the glue that connects us and in the social relationships that we have. Now we're talking about something else. Anfei Chillul HaShem gam hem rabim ugdolim. Now, I'm going to read the full sentence. Ki harbe tzarich adam liot chas al kvod kono. So there's many branches to what's called Chillul HaShem. I don't know how you say that in English. Maybe desecration of God's name. But as being an example. In other words, people look at you as a representative of the creator of the world, which is a huge responsibility. And therefore, you have to be aware that you are not just you. You are actually a representative of the creator of the world. And that makes it double hard when you wear a kippah on your head, or when you have tzitzis, or when people look at you as you should be an example. Here we go. And everything you do, you have to be aware. Yistakel, look into it. Bitbonen, think about it. שלא יצא משם מה שיוכל להיות חילול לכבוד שמיים חס וחלילה. We'll explain. What does he say here? Okay? ויתבונן שלא יצא משם שיכול להיות, like in other words, Chillul HaShem is so serious that you have to take a security measure. It's called mekadem betichut. A security buffer. In other words, what could come out of it? You have to be aware not only of what you're doing, but what could come out of what you're doing. That's already more complicated. In Hebrew it's called, there's a Rosh Katan and there's a Rosh Gadol. Rosh Katan, someone just says like, what do you want from me? I'm doing this, that's it. I have to try and figure out what's going to come out of it. The answer is yes, because of the importance of Chillul HaShem. Shaninu, this is what it says in Pirkei Avot, Echad shoged v'echad mezig b'chilul Hashem. If you caused a Chillul Hashem b'shogeg, not intentionally, you're still punished. Why? It's not intentionally. I didn't know. Too bad. You should have known. Even someone who murders by mistake is called a murderer. The Torah says, if a person is cutting his wood with his axe, and the metal piece of the wood flies off the axe and kills somebody, what does the Torah say? V'nas shama rotzeach. The Torah calls him a murderer. Why? So you come to the judge and you say, right? You say to the judge, listen, what do you want from me? I was cutting my wood and it flew off. I had no intention to kill that person. What do you want from me? It was completely unintentional. Okay, let me ask you a question, asked the judge. Do you know that sometimes the wood, as you're chopping wood, the grip becomes less strong, and it could fly off. Yes, I know that. So why didn't you check it? After every 5 times you do it, and it gets weaker, so you have to go make it stronger so it should not fly off. That's not an excuse, right? It didn't just happen. It's not the first time it ever happened, never happened before. It happens all the time. So if it never happened, you'd be right. But this is something that happens all the time. It's part of the facts of nature. That when you're chopping with something, you're kind of shaking it, and it's becoming less firm in the grip, and it could fly off and create damage or kill somebody. So therefore, why didn't you check? And the same thing is true with the Chillul HaShem. Everything you do, right? Check. Is this going to create a Chillul HaShem? So now we need to define what is Chillul HaShem. Right? Let's define it. The Ramchal gives us everything very organized. He doesn't leave us hanging in the air with nice, vague ideas. He brings it down to practical reality. Right? So what is this, what is this word, Chillul HaShem, that everybody uses, right? Everyone says, oh, it's a Chillul HaShem, it's a Chillul HaShem. Like, people love using that word. So so here, the Gemara explains, Heche dami Chillul HaShem. Right? Explain to me, how do you evaluate, how do you describe the word Chillul HaShem, the action, or Amarav kegon ana deshakalna bisra velo yahivna dame lealtar. Like me, if I go into the marketplace, to the butchers, I buy meat, and I don't pay right away. So what do people say? Religious people are thieves. They don't pay. They give checks that bounce. They post-dated checks, right? What's called immoral financial dealings, right? It's called musar avodah, right? Moral work ethics, morals, and the thieves, right? Why are you dragging out your payment? He has to run after you. What's this is a Chillul HaShem. People say, what do you mean? He has payas, he has tzitzis, Chillul HaShem. Now, first thing people say, well, a lot of people like to say, okay, so I guess I just won't wear a kippah, so it won't be a Chillul HaShem. So first of all, that's just a cop-out. You're in this world to deal with the issues, not to run away from them and just say. And secondly, if a person does something wrong, he does something wrong. It happens. We're all humans. Rav Kook says we're not built in a way where we will not make mistakes, but we're built in a way where we have to do tshuva after we make mistakes, and we have to be careful that it shouldn't happen again. We have to learn from our mistakes. That's human. So, if you don't wear a kippah, you're basically saying, I don't believe in God at all. The kippah is like, we know it's a minhag, but it's became, the minhag Yisrael Torah, it became accepted. It's the main reason of the kippah is for tzniut, for modesty, covering your head. But it's a statement of, I believe that there's a creator of the world, that runs the world, and he's above me, and I want to be, accepting his ruling. It's a very powerful message, and this is my community that I identify with. That's a big statement. Like we talked about that in Zeirut. What are the 3 things that make you lose this, carefulness, this paying attention? Is who are your society? What are the social groups you hang out with? Once you put a kippah, you're ready. This is my social group. My social group are people that believe in God, people that believe in the creator of the world, and people expect more from you. So this is what it says: if a person has a kippah and tzitzis and steals, people say, "Oy la'aviv shibdot Torah," "Oy to his father that taught him Torah," "Oy to his rabbi." All how disgusting, and v'shem Shemai mitchalel. And that's what it says. And God's name is desecrated. And it's the opposite also. If a person And that's exactly what we spoke about also in the first chapter of Messilat Yesharim. After we talked about how we're in this world that's a constant struggle and battle and a war. You have a war if you're rich or poor or sick or healthy. Everything is a challenge. And it's a war and it's a difficulty. So you say, I don't want this world. The right next thing he talks about is, what are you talking about? You have a huge thing to weigh. The whole world is now on a scale, waiting for you to lift it up. If you get dragged to the negative places, so it's true, you destroy the world. But if you imadam mitgaber al atzmo, right, and use everything in this world to serve God and to become a better person, ilui gadol habriot kulam biyotam meshamshim ha'adam hashalem. What a uplifting of all of creation, that creation gets to be the partners with you in lifting up the world. And that's like, wow, that's an opportunity, that's a gift. And therefore, don't say, no, I don't want this world, I don't want the challenges. That's not what it's about.
Say if I'm crossing the pedestrian lane and it's red light and I cross it, even it's red, is it considered Chillul HaShem?
That's exactly what he's going to say here. That's a Chillul HaShem. You're saying, and I'm working on it so hard every time now, since I learned this week, I come to the lights and there's no cars and you just want to go. And he says, if you are a religious person and you're crossing in a red light, you're saying, I don't care about the laws, they're worthless, and you're showing a disrespect and a disgrace to the laws of that are there to protect us. And that's a Chillul HaShem. It's he's gonna bring a list here. One of the things on the list is what you mentioned. There's gonna be a lot more that are difficult for us to handle. Yeah. But you're on the right direction. You're on the right direction. Kol hakavod. So let's keep going, right? But again, like we said, the opposite. People say, Ashrei aviv shelamad Torah. A person should say, blessed is his father who taught him Torah, his rabbi who taught him Torah, his yeshiva. How beautiful he acts. And Shem Shamayim mitkadesh. Yisrael shenemar, Yisrael asher becha etpaer. The Jewish nation that I exalt myself through you. So again, let's define what is Chillul HaShem. Let's define it. Immoral behavior, even if it's not something that you're going over on the law. Immoral behavior, right? You bought something, right? I didn't pay it, right? The check bounced. What do you want from me? I did it. So it happens, right? No. But people say, someone like you giving checks and they bounce and the guy has to run after you and you're causing them so much. Like, what kind of religious person are you? This is what your Torah teaches you?
Yeah.
That's called the Chillul HaShem. Okay? So, like we said, what is Chillul HaShem? Immoral behavior of religious people. And by the way, this is the big theory of Rav Kook. The reason why the Jewish people, we know that 80% or something threw away religion. It was part of a whole world drop of religion. But why did the Jewish people drop religion? Rav Kook says, this is his theory. Right? It started with the Catholics and the Protestants. They left their religion. And then the Jews also left their religion. Why? Because of immoral religious people that are not honest, this is unbelievable. This is not a small thing. But it took us till the end, till chapter 11 to discuss it because we're not ready to hear it. We have a lot of other things that we have to deal with first. And here we are in chapter 11, deep into the chapter. And we're talking about this very serious thing. Now we're ready to handle it. Ready to hear it. People left religion because they saw religious people who were not honest, who were not with good character, and they said, what's worth the whole Torah? Right? But what's the connection? What is the connection? Why are you blaming Moshe Rabbeinu for the fact that guy is my father-in-law is not religious. And he came into shul one day and someone said, would you like tefillin? Put on tefillin. He said, no, you're not a Jew. So that guy's an idiot. Right? But what does it have to do with Moshe Rabbeinu? Right? What does it have to do with Moshe Rabbeinu? Anyway, so, and by the way, this is an amazing statistic that my rabbi brings here, that someone once said to my rabbi, let's start a chain of schools for where we'll have religious teachers and secular students, and there'll be a little bit of Torah, like a day. And they said to him, he went to the Ministry of Education in Israel and said, let's do this. And they said to him, we have it already. What is that? They're in the Mamachti Dati schools, in the religious public schools, there's 750,000 kids that are secular. Secular. Why is that? For one reason. Those parents saw that the kids coming from this school were better behaved. So they said, I want my kid to go there. I'm willing to suffer that my kid will come home and tell me, we learned that we're supposed to keep Shabbos and you're not supposed to, girls are not supposed to wear pants. I'll suffer all those things. But I know my kid, it's so important for me that my son, my child, will be a good person. And they saw that the kids going to the religious schools were better people. It's a fact. Okay? And here, Rabbi Meir tells another story of a very famous lawyer that, was very far from Torah and mitzvahs. But he grew up in Merkaz HaRav. He was studying here. So he went and asked him, he said, why? How was it learning at the yeshiva? Incredible. How was Rav Kook? Incredible. You came in contact with Rav Kook. Wow. Rav Tzvi Yehuda? Also amazing. Okay, so why'd you leave it? Because after I left yeshiva, I became a lawyer. And I worked in a company, in a law firm, that was especially dealing with the religious community. And when I saw how the religious people were doing not honest business, I said, I want to have nothing to do with being with religion. Okay, when you're a lawyer and you're in courts and everything else, you see the lowest level of how people are acting, and that's a Chillul HaShem. He was wrong, but still a Chillul HaShem. Rabbi Yochanan Amar, Kegon Ana de Masgina Arba Amot Belot Torah Belot Tefillin. Rabbi Yochanan. So we're giving an example. What is the Chillul HaShem? So a Chillul HaShem is not something that you can define as a general rule. It all depends who you are, who are your surroundings, and what is expected of you. So Rabbi Yochanan says, so we just brought an example of who we mentioned. Who did we mention? We said, we mentioned the rabbi that doesn't pay on right away. We mentioned here, Rabbi Yochanan says about himself, if I go 4 amot without learning Torah, that's a Chillul HaShem. Why? Because people say, okay, you're religious people, you're always talking about how important Torah is. Torah is the greatest, Torah is the most important thing. And then, what do you do on your spare time? What do you do on your free time? Do you learn Torah? That proves, are you really passionate about it? Do you really believe it's so important? But on your spare time, you're on your phone, playing Tetris, or I don't know what. Golfing, who knows? So it depends what's expected. You're talking so high, but now look what you're doing on your free time. You have free time? Learn Torah. Right? So you're showing that you don't really believe in it. You're not inside. You don't understand the value. Right? That the Torah is really not worth anything. That's how people look at this. And what are we talking about? Every person based on your level. We're not telling you now you have to go beyond levels of what you are. Know who you are. Know what you're capable of. And know what are you valued in the generation. There's a story once that the Chavetz Chaim was crying. And he was crying. And then this guy walks in, knocks on the door. How you doing? He says, I'm doing great. I came to you last month. There was no business. But then all my competitors ran out of merchandise and everyone came to me and I'm making a fortune now. Chavetz Chaim grabs his hand and starts dancing. He says, What are you dancing? What happened? He says, I'm sitting here crying about how I'm so nothing compared to the generations that were. And then you coming in and telling me this story, it's like God saying to me, you're right. In the generation before, you were worthless. You're considered nothing compared to the people that were there. But now, this is all there is. So it's worth so much. You think that, well, how much Torah do we know? Like nothing. But what you know compared to the generation, right? Compared to the level of the generation. How many children there? I just heard there's a big statistic. How many children they don't even know the Shema Yisrael in Israel? I think there's like 1 million kids never heard Shema Yisrael. Who could imagine? Right? So it all depends according to your generation. If you're learning yeshiva, you learned a year, you learned a half a year, you learned a little bit, you know more. And you have to think, it depends on the person. And the generation. A person like you, it's not accepted for you to act that way. What is that thing? It depends upon the person. As you become more of a Talmud Chacham, be more careful, check your moral behavior. And you could say, we're just simple people, right? Doesn't have to do with us. But he says, no, in our generation, just the fact that you're wearing a kippah, you are considered a Talmud Chacham. Right? This is what it is. And you are the representative of the religion compared to what is out there and how low the level is of knowledge. כי כפי רבות חשיבותו וחוכמתו, כן ראוי שירבה זהירותו בדברי העבודה והדקדוק בה. ואם אינו עושה כן, הרי שם שמיים מתחלל בו. Okay, and then based on your wisdom and based on your importance, you have to be careful in what you do. If you don't do it, God's name becomes desecrated. חס וחלילה. כי כבוד התורה הוא שמי שמרבה לימוד בה, and this is the important point. That's what we're learning here in Messilat Yesharim. And this is what the Ramchal was screaming about. Is people don't understand. And this is, again, כי כבוד התורה הוא מי שמרבה לימוד בה, כמו כן ירבה ביושר ותיקון המידות. As you're learning more Torah, you need to be becoming more refined, to become more gentle, more caring, more sensitive, more understanding, more refined in your character. And people think that it just happens automatically. And that's what the Ramchal was screaming about. That you need to be learning musar. You need to be learning. Why? Because it's true when you're learning Torah. So you're getting bits and pieces of like moral behavior, but it will take you 1,000 years. When you're learning musar, it's focused in on the characters, on this, especially this book that's the greatest gift to the world. It's focused in. It's like you're taking antibiotics. You're getting a injection of becoming a better person, and that needs to be worked on all the time, and not just learning Torah. So you could learn Torah and still be an immoral person and not really being developing. And that's what Rav Kook said. You must learn Messilat Musar, 10% of your learning time, as the ratio of the head to the body. The head is 10%, 10% of your time. So if you're learning whatever it is, take 10% of your time to learn Musar, Emunah, things that have to do with personal growth, becoming a better person. It doesn't happen automatically just because you're learning Torah. And that was a big revelation. That's what he wrote in the introduction of the book. That doesn't happen on its own. And the Ramchal was screaming about it, and other people were screaming about it, that this is something that is so serious. As you're learning Torah, you need to be also in a parallel track, learning to become a better person. It doesn't happen automatically. That's what the Ramchal is saying here. It doesn't happen automatically. And the ramifications, the outcome of a person that knows more Torah but is not morally more refined is a disaster to the Jewish people and to the godliness in the world. That's a huge responsibility. And that's what it is. If you learn Torah, right? If you learned a lot of Torah, you have to be very, very honest and very refined. And this is what gives the, how do you say, this is the monitin. How do you say that in English? How do you say that? In Hebrew, I think it's translated from English. Wait, let's see. Let's see. 1 second. Monitin. Reputation. The reputation of the Torah is based on its people. Right? Look at this Torah. Look what wonderful people it makes. As the person learns more Torah, he becomes more honest, right? Learned a little bit. And that makes people love the Torah and want to have a connection with God. How serious that is. Even though they're wrong. What are you saying? Because he's a religious guy and he acts like an animal, so like, what does that have to do with the Torah? He's not representing the Torah. As far as people are concerned, that's how they don't have time to go and sit and figure out what it says. I look at a guy, I see how he acts, how he behaves. This is the Torah. This is God. This is the Torah. And that's a huge responsibility. Person learns a lot of Torah, but he's lacking honesty and good character. This is a disgrace to himself and to the Torah. People say it's worth nothing. This is a desecration of Hashem's name. שנתן לנו את תורתו הקדושה וציוונו לעסוק בה להשיג על ידה את shlemutenu. God gave us the Torah and commanded us, the Holy Torah, and commanded us to achieve wholeness, completeness, and through the Torah. But if you're learning Torah and you're acting in a way, right, that is not attractive to people, that's called Chillul HaShem. You have to be extra careful. Okay? All right. And here he tells a story. It tells a story that he read this story once that he saw that when a guy, right, he said that why did he go to yeshiva, right? A secular guy. He went to yeshiva and he said, why did I go in? Because I went into the cheder achal. I went into the dining room. It was just lunch, and I saw a guy come in and there was no fork. So what did he do? He took the fork of the guy next to him. And he started eating, and he kept looking at the door. Because he knew that this was a seat of somebody else. As soon as he saw the guy walk in the door, he jumped up, ran, washed the fork with soap and washed it, and dried it, and put it back for the guy sitting next to him. And he said, wow, that was it. I said, this is my place. Right? So a lot of people ask, how are we going to, bring back the Jewish people? Everybody wants to do kiruv. Everybody wants to, how are we going to make the secular people do tshuva? The answer is, do us a favor. Don't machzir anybody b'tshuva. Just machzir yourself b'tshuva. What about others? If you become with better midot, better character, I promise you, other people will come. They'll see. Learning Torah has value. There's a reward. It brings out people that are good people that are honest, people that are kind. And unfortunately, there's people who don't learn Torah and are good charactered people, and they say, "What do we need the Torah? What do I need it for?" Right? And this is it's a serious thing. Okay, so let's keep going. And this is what Rav Kook says. It's not because that they, people think because they discovered the world isn't round, or the world, that comes from evolution. It's not because of science that anybody left Torah mitzvahs. Everybody left it. People leave it only because of Chillul HaShem. And unfortunately, I hate to say it, unfortunately, right? There's a lot of religious people, and they say, we're learning Torah, so we can't go to the army. And there's big numbers of people that are learning, and they're not really learning. So the people say, so the secular people say, we're supposed to die for you, and you're sitting, right? And you say the Torah protects us, but when bombs start falling, you run into the bomb shelters. If the Torah protects you, then don't go into the bomb shelters, right? So why are you running there? Maybe we shouldn't put soldiers next to your house, right? I mean, this is a Chillul HaShem.
Nowadays,
and by the way,
starting to change.
And there is a place for someone who's is really a strong learner, and that's his calling. Not everyone has to be soldiers. But there's people that if you're wasting your time, you're not there, and you're not doing it, then go. Why should other people give their life for you? Of course, during the War of Independence, a lot of Haredim joined the army. Today, a lot of soldiers want to join. A lot of Haredim. It's happening, but this creates, unfortunately, a Chillul HaShem. It's a problem, but it's going to get fixed slowly. The Jewish people are always moving upwards. So we're done this idea of, we're done the idea of Chillul HaShem. Obviously, it's something that needs to be thought about, considered. We have to live this. It's not just enough, especially as we learned in the Igeret Ramban. The Igeret Ramban is like a speed dial of Messilat Yesharim. If you want to have the short version, you want to know all of Messilat Yesharim in a speed dial, learn the book, the letter. It's called, how do you say it in English? Igeret Ramban. The response of the Ramban. There's a letter of the Ramban he wrote to his son of moral behavior. That's the speed dial. And there he writes, whenever you close a book, Ba'asher takum min hasefer, tchapes hechan tochal lekayma. Go look and see how could I live it. So we're not here learning intellectual things. Like the sign of a successful class is not, I learned, now I left here knowing more information. No, sign of a successful class is now I want to be closer to God. Now I want to live what I learned. And this is something that we can definitely start practicing, is to be aware of our behavior, of our actions, to be aware of our outcomes, we are representatives. People expect more from us. That's just the way it is. They expect more from us. Maybe they shouldn't, but they do. And we have a big responsibility. And we have to stand up to the plate and really prove that learning Torah is something that is the right thing to do. It makes you a better person. Not just knowing, right? V'nimtza chen v'sechel tov. We should find favor in the eyes b'nei Elokim, in the eyes of God, Elokim v'Adam, and the eyes of man. That we should also represent God towards people. So that's number one. Number two, and the next thing we're moving on, social relationships. והנה גם שמירת שבתות וימים טובים רבה היא כי המשפטים רבים. What does this have to do with social interactions? The answer is, Shabbos is a time where you finally have time to have a social interactions. What are your social interactions going to be? Are you going to meet your friends and talk to them about business and about sports and about all kinds of things that are not important, or are important, but are not, we're talking about the soul, are not the idea of Shabbos is let go of all the things of the week. Let go of all your business dealings, let go of all your financial things and all of the social interactions that are based around profit and success and whatever you believe it is. And now connect in a deep way. Learn Torah together, daven together, sing together, right? Zmirot, songs of Shabbos. Create something that is a social interaction that is uplifting. Like the Rambam has a list where it says, "Kne lecha chaver, aseh lecha av, kne lecha chaver, You should make yourself a rabbi and buy yourself a friend. And the Rambam brings 3 different types of relationships that there exist. 3 different types of friendships. There's chaver to'elet. There's a friend that you're a friend together because you get some kind of value from each other. You do business together. You have a toilet. You have some kind of value. You really don't care about the person because you're there to make the money. You're there together to gain. Then there's a next level higher. It's called chaver hana'ah or chaver bitachon. It's a friend that you get pleasure from. They give you pleasure. You give them pleasure. It's already not just a friend that you do business together, and it's like it's very how do you say what's the word, transactional. This is already you get pleasure from each other, and or you're able to chaver bitachon. You're able to, you feel secure to tell them, to share with them your stories, but it's still you're getting pleasure from them listening to you or they listen to you. It's give and take, but it's still not the highest level. Then there's a chaver ma'ala. That's what when the Mishnah says "Aselecha chaver," make yourself a friend. It's talking about chaver ma'ala, which is a friend of that is uplifting each other. In other words, we are friends because we want there to be goodness in the world, and we are partners together to make this goodness happen. It's not about getting pleasure. It's not about feeling security. It's not about getting doing business together. It's about we are friends to bring goodness to the world. And that is what when the Torah says, when the Mishnah says, that's the kind of friend it's talking about. Find a friend that you together are. That's what they say when you're looking for a wife. That's what you're looking for. You're not looking for someone who gives you pleasure. You're not looking for someone who okay, we have a good business deal, taking care of the kids, or paying half on the house and everything else. You're looking for somebody not where you're looking at each other, but you're looking in the same direction with each other, with the goal to do good in the world. That's what you're looking for in a wife. Someone that we can do good together. So now we're talking about Shabbos. And here it is. V'chen amru. And there's a lot of halachas in Shabbos. V'chen amru hilchat harabat l'shabbata. There's a lot of things you need to learn day and night, because without learning halachas of Shabbos, you're definitely over on mistakes. It's very complex. You need to take a book called Shmirat Shabbat K'ilchata and learn the book. But what are we talking about here? Even things that seem they're not important, things that come from the Rabbanan. No. Even these things, it says in the Torah, Le'olam al tiyeh shvut kala b'einecha, sharei smicha shvut yinchaku dolei ador. Okay. Ulam pirtei adinim. So he says there's a lot of things, but I want to talk about one thing when it comes to Shabbos. What I want to talk about. He says, Mashkasheh le'amon Shabbat Shvahi, ha'esek umidvar umidaber b'masa'am u'b'matanam. One thing that I want to talk about is what happens when you meet with friends, when you meet with people. What do? You start talking business. Right? The famous story. The guy goes around, I forgot how it goes, a joke. Guys, how much is the car? This Shabbos Geret, 500. How much is it? This Shabbos Geret, 400. Then he comes back later. This Shabbos Geret sold, right? You don't buy, you don't sell, you don't get interested in what's the stocks and what is the amounts, right? People think you say the sentence Nis Shabbos Geret, right? Which means you don't talk about this on Shabbos, but. So if you said that, now you can talk about everything. So it's like a secret. It's a secret code that you say that, and now everything is accepted, and you can talk about whatever you want. It's a hard one. This one's really hard, right? It's genius, but it doesn't work, right? No, you spoke. So here, that it says in the prophet. In the prophet, it says. Right? Respect the Shabbos. Stop trying to close the deals. Don't talk about it. Don't go looking for deals. Right? Don't plan your week on Shabbos. Tomorrow we're going here. We're leaving at 8 o'clock. Yes? Well, do we need a car? Which car? We need to fix this. And what's the rule? Anything you're not allowed to do on Shabbos, you're not allowed to talk about it. That's the rule. Very simple. How do I know what I'm allowed to talk about and I'm not? Whatever you're not allowed to do on Shabbos, you're not allowed to talk about on Shabbos. Simple. Don't plan it. Don't organize it. You can't go, right? Let's go see what's going on in the house that we're building, what's missing, what's this. It's not happening. Drop it. It's not enough to just turn off your phone. You have to turn it off. Turn off the world and go into the time to give to your soul, give to the spiritual world. You're not allowed to go out all the way to the edge of the town, so that when it's time to leave, I'm ready, almost there, I can go. You're planning it. Don't do it. You're not allowed to say, I'm going to do this tomorrow, I'm going to buy this tomorrow, right? Don't plan, tomorrow I'll be in Tel Aviv, I'll go here, right? You're allowed to say, tomorrow I'm going to, right? Okay. So don't plan it. Don't do anything. This is hard. Like we're saying, it's hard. And people fall on this thing all the time. And these are things that are expected from us. Everything we're learning here is not for people that are like, in the next level. It seems like these things we're talking about are like wow, but it's supposed to be things that are this is what's expected from every normal, healthy Jew. And again, we've gone already through Zeirut and Zrizut. We're ready for it. Work on this. We have already one thing to work about. It's huge. Maybe we should have just stuck with that. Chillul HaShem is enough for a lifetime. But here's another thing. Take away. On Shabbos, be in Shabbos. There's a great rabbi. His name was Bar Kapara. People used to come, pay him a lot of money for advice. So one guy came and said, Rabbi, I'll pay you money, give me a good advice. Paid him money, and he said, when you're eating, eat. When you're drinking, drink. No. When you're thirsty, drink. When you're hungry, eat. And when you need to use the bathroom, use the bathroom. For that, I needed to pay you money. By the way, this sentence is something I think about all the time. How many times you need the bathroom and you don't go right away because you're busy, you're thinking. You need the bathroom, go to the bathroom. Stop what you're doing, go do it now. Now Rav Kook brings something deeper from it. He says when you're drinking, drink. When you're eating, eat. When you're hungry, eat. This is also a huge thing. How many of us are eating because we're hungry, or we're eating because there's just food there, or emotional eating, or who knows what? But anyway, Rav Kook says something deeper. When you're hungry, when you need things that are, grounding, when you need things that are like Gemara, halacha, be sensitive to your need. When you want food, eat. Sometimes you need the halachas, the Gemara, things that are very practical, very clear. When you're thirsty is when you have that spiritual need. You need to learn something, amuna, something that's like you're flying in the sky. Water is like the purity, the things that are very spiritual things. Be aware to your needs and spiritual needs, whether it's what type of learning you need. And when you use the bathroom, this is incredible. What is using the bathroom? If you suddenly feel that you need to do tshuva, you have like this calling. What is tshuva? Is getting rid of the bad, taking it out of you. So when you suddenly have that, you're sitting there with a friend, you're talking, blah, 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 you feel like I need to go do tshuva. Sorry, I need to go to the bathroom. You're not lying. And you go and you need to get rid of the negative. Be aware of that and do it. Anyway, that's a beautiful idea. So we're almost ending this chapter. So, and he says, so we talked about things that you see that people make big mistakes on. And we'll learn and expand on it. And now, here we go. Okay, now here's the beauty. That next week, we are now moving into the last part of Messilat Yesharim. Hinek Mosh Tzarich Nikiyut B'Maasim. We're not going to learn it today, but we're giving you an introduction for the next week. Now we're going into the last group of things I'm working on our character that are very hard. Hinek Mosh Tzarich Nikiyut B'Maasim. Till now, everything we were talking about was actions. Right? Same way you have to be clean, you have to work hard on your actions. You need also to work on your character. Midot. The kimat sheyoter kasher and nikiyut b'midot. This is way harder. Working on your character is way harder than working on your actions. Actions you could change, but changing your character is already very difficult. You have control, right? In actions, you have control. You can choose to do this act or not do this act. But it's not that easy when it comes to a person's character. Changing a personality is complex. The Gaon of Vilna said it's easier to learn the whole Shulchan Aruch inside out than it is to change one character. But, and the Gaon of Vilna wrote, the whole purpose that you're in this world is to fix and to change your bad characters. It's hard work. And, right? But that's why we're in this world. So the next week we're going to start talking about pride and other difficult, and that's basically the end of the 11th chapter, which is what's expected of all of us. And the first one is pride. Pride, gaiva, is something that every healthy Jew should not have gaiva. Again, anava, humility, is one of the last character traits in the book. That's already, we're in like the third character building. Like the ninth character building is already, you're talking about humility. Being humble, that's for like individual people that are special. But to not be a person that's full of pride is what's expected from every single healthy Jew. That's what you're able to be, a person that's not full of pride, and you're expected to be a person. And now next week we're gonna talk about how do we work on this character to not be people that are Baal Ga'ava. And there's many different types and many different levels. The Ramchal works on everything, gives us the tools and how to grow and how to develop this. So thank you very much, everybody, and looking forward to next week. I hope I didn't overdo it with giving you guys also Chillul HaShem and also Shabbos. I mean, those are two big ones.